All right, everybody, we are going to be investigating simple gear trains, and you're going to be building them and calculating gear ratio. So before we get started with that, it's important to know the parts. So take a moment, look at the parts list right here, and see if you can figure out what each one is to match it up with the picture. Pause the video for a minute, and then unpause it, and then I'll have them all sorted. So I'm going to go ahead and sort them now. The frame is right here. This is considered like the vehicle frame. I don't know if you notice on the frame, there's this little white piece right here. That little white piece gets plugged into these holes in various locations. That white piece is called an axle. Let me grab that. Axle bushing support. So the axles get pushed right in there and it helps support it so it fits into the frame nice and snug. Let's see, did you figure out where the gears are? Here are the gears. There are 3 different sizes. We have a 45, a 75, and a little 15. Those are our gears. The motor is this guy right here. It's not a very powerful motor, but it does the job. Attached to the motor, I don't know if you noticed it, the wing nut. It is right here. You're going to have 2 of them. They're screws that help support the motor and keep it attached to this frame right here. Whoa, going back. What else do we have? Oh, the wheel. That one should have been an easy figure. That is the wheel. All right, so now we're down to drive collar and axles. Let's do axles next. We got a gear and a wheel. Well, by looking at the picture, you kind of figure out this one is the wheel. And this one that's closer to the gears is the gears. But let's take a look at both of them up close because they look pretty much the same. If you have them in front of you, which I hope you do, I need you to take a look at the tips. So look at the tip here and look at the tip here. I'm guessing that you figured out that the gear is just all the same size. But if you look at the tip of the wheel one, you're going to see that it gets really thin. That allows you to stick it through the wheel a lot easier. It's a little difficult to use the gear axle on the wheels. It's a tough fit. All right, we got 2 more parts left. The rubber collar, I don't have it separated. It is actually sitting right here. Let me point to it. This is it. That is rubber collar. You use that on both axles, wheel and gear, and it's to help hold the position of the axle so they don't slide back and forth. And what we have left is the drive collar. And let me circle that. That is this clear guy right here. Right there. So that is the drive collar, and that gets attached to the gears. That's why it's close to it. All right, so again, pause this video and try to remember those parts. All right, so I'm going to talk about these a little better. We have gears. They go by names. If you look at the gears closely, you're going to see that one of them is called, the 45. In fact, let me do this. This is the 45. If you look real close, you're going to see that there is a 45 written right on there. Same thing with this one. There's a 75, 15. I don't think they wrote it on there. There's a drive collar, and again, there's the gear axle. So let me show you. I don't know, did you see the 45? Did you find the 75? All right, so you're going to see that there are 2 sides. The gear, you see how there's a depression on this side? It's like pushed in. So the drive collar, if you look at it, you're going to see that it gets snapped inside there. Hopefully you can take the time right now and investigate. See how that drive collar snaps into any of those gears. All right, so now let's take a look at these axles a little closer. You actually have 3 axles that you're dealing with. You got your wheel axle, which is this guy. That's your wheel. You also have your gear axle, which is this guy, and the one that's attached to the motor. All right, take a look at those 3. Find all 3, and you're going to notice, run your finger on them, that there's actually like a groove. So I have the groove facing in this picture. The groove is facing up in this one, and here's the groove right here. All right, so why is there a groove? That groove is to line up with the drive collar. They must line up. If you don't line them up and you push them on, it's like a pain in the butt to get the drive collar off. It slides real easy. It's almost like a locking mechanism to like hold the gears in place and go on nice and smooth. So pay attention to that. All right, so investigate that right now. So take one of the drive collars, take one of the axles, and try to line up this little screw right here with the groove, and you're going to see that it slides on real easy. When they're not lined up, they don't slide on so easy, and if you force it, it gets stuck. All right, so let's talk about snapping that drive collar on. So you can see I have the drive collar snapped on to the 15 tooth, and I have it on the 75, and I have it on the 45. So what side do you snap it? So let me take a look at this picture right here. Oop, let me erase these. All right, so making this a little bigger. Do you see this side right here, how it has a depression? You're just going to snap that right inside there. All right, take the time to go check that out. All right, so adding the axle bushing supports. So these are a pain in the butt, but it's a must. You got to do them. Me personally, I like to snap them on the inside. You can snap them on the outside. I snap them on the outside. You can snap them on the inside. It's just your personal preference. They have to go on both sides of the frame. So an axle will get pushed right through there, but it's going to go through right here, and it's going to come out the other side. So you're going to have to put the axle bushing on both sides. It is a must. It's annoying, but it's a must. When you have to move them, literally you just kind of have to kind of pop them out. If you're struggling to pop them off, call me over and I'll show you how I do it. All right, so our first build, what I want you to do is attach a 45 tooth gear. By the way, why am I calling it a 45? Because literally, feeling bored one day, just count all these. When you count every one of these little teeth on here, can you guess how many are on here? Yeah, that's right, there's 45 of them. All right, so I need you to build this. All right, so this is how it looks from the front. I'm going to enlarge this one, and let's take a look at it from the side. So here's what we have. You put in the axle bushing. You're going to put, one here, one here. Where do you put it? Just, from the top. You can put it on the top row right now or the second row. I did the second row. Right now, it doesn't really matter. We're just kind of placing them in and you're investigating. I want you to notice that I have a rubber collar here. So you're going to always put 2 rubber collars on the inside, which will help. One will get butted up against this side of the frame, the other one the other side of the frame. And there is a third one right over here on the other side of the axle. So bushings are the 2 white bushings. You have your 3 rubber collars, 1, 2, and 3. I have my drive collar, which was attached to my 45 tooth gear, and I just slide that on. Okay, so let me undo this mess that I made. And oops, maybe not. If you're struggling, call me over. All right, so we've attached the 45. Oh, here's a nice view of the 45. Again, there's that rubber collar, bushings here, bushing here, drive collar, and that one. So now I need you to attach a 15 tooth. All right, so where do you attach that one? It should be meshed. And let me zoom in on this picture. They are meshed. So the teeth here and the teeth here, and here are meshed together. So the distance for in terms of the holes, I think there's a 1 space gap between them. So let me make this again smaller. Boom, 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 boom. So yes, when I look at this, here's an axle here, then there's a space, and then an axle here. So these are lined up. They're perfectly in line with each other. Again, going back to that, these axles, one is in line with the other. They must be in line. And making it smaller again. All right, so same setup. You're going to put in the axle bushings, which are the white pieces, and you're going to put, let me do green. Let me erase this. Green. So can you see the little white axle bushing? And there's a little white axle bushing right there. I'm going to be sliding that axle in, but when I do, I have to make sure that I have 2 rubber collars on the inside, and there's going to be one out here on the outside. Then I'm going to slide in my drive collar, which will be snapped onto my 15-tooth gear. That's how it looks on the side. All right, so this is the front view. So we have 2 gears. One of them is going to be the driver and the other one is the driven. How do you know? The driver is the one that you turn. So you turn the driver, or the driver has a motor on it, and that causes the other gear to be driven by that. So for our purposes, this top one, this 45 tooth one, is my driver. So you're going to turn that gear, and it's going to cause this gear right here to also turn, and that will be driven. Okay, interesting. I want you to do that right now. So let's do this. Why don't you turn this one clockwise? And while you're turning that, I want you to pay attention to how the bottom one rotates. You're noticing, I'm hoping right now that you're turning those, and you're going to notice that it turns in the opposite direction. So when this one's going clockwise, the other one's going counterclockwise. No, wrong way. Erase. It's going this way. No, I'm still erasing. There we go. They're going in opposite directions. So gears that are in a train always go in the opposite direction. Them two being put together like that is called meshing the gears. They're meshed together. All right, cool. I hope you have investigated and seen that. All right, so now the paperwork. Your favorite part, right? So I want you to draw the driver. Let's do blue. Driver, my driver was larger, so that's the 45. My driven was the smaller one, that was the 15. Where am I getting those? So again, we made those, and it's also written right here. So my driver is everything in this column. So all of these guys right here are going to be your drivers. These in the next column are my drivens, and everything in this column will be the second gear that gets turned when you turn the driver. All right, so the gear train ratio. To help you remember, this is how I help, my mnemonic device. You've driven over your driver and turned them into a pancake. So the driven is always first. So my driven was 15. So that's going to go at the top over my driver, and my driver was 45. And then we're going to need to simplify. So 15 goes into 45. It does. So I'm going to reduce that. 15 goes into 15 once. 15 goes into 45 3 times. So my answer is 1/3. Okay. So now we have to figure out the rotation part. All right. To do that, let's go here. So you're going to take a Sharpie, and you are going to line up these gears. So take a Sharpie and you're going to mark that. Okay. So what you're going to do once you make that, you are going to turn your driver, and you're going to turn it slowly. So to do that, you're just going to turn the axle right here, and you're going to see that this is going to start to turn. So I turned in this image it slowly. What I've done, if you're looking at this and going, hey, the black mark didn't move, it actually did. It went around 1 time already. So as I was turning it, this went 1 rotation around, and this one right here, which was my driver, and this was my driven, it only went like 1/3 of the way. So as I was turning it slowly, I saw that the driven went around 1 time, and my driver went around 1/3 of the way. So I want you to keep turning till they come right back and get lined right back up. So here's my next picture. I kept turning. This one has gone, which is my driven. And again, this is my driver. This went around 2 times. It's gone on 2 times, and this guy only went 2/3 of the way. It still hasn't even made 1 full rotation yet. Wow. And this guy's gone around 3 times. And then in my third picture, they're both lined up. So this guy went around No, I'm sorry. Take that back. This guy, oops, which is my driven, went 3 times around. Well, this guy only went 1. So my driver went around 1 time, and my driven went around 3 times to get lined back up. It reminds me of an analogy. Did you ever see like a parent walking with a child? It's like the parent is walking just like a normal stride, but the child is little, and to keep up with their parent, like they're holding hands, that little kid is like walking super fast to keep up with the parent. So the smaller gear is kind of like that. It's like the kid. It's like it's got to go around faster to keep up with the bigger gear. I don't know if that helps you. So back to this. We already did our calculations, and remember it ended up being 1/3. So the gear rotation, my driver, which was the big 45, it only went around once, while my driven, which was the 15, went around 3 times. Interesting. Cool. All right, so here's what you have to do. I need you to build the remaining gear trains that are listed on that paper. So let me go back. So you're going to do the 15 and 45. You're going to do a 45, 45, 75, 15, 15, 75, 75, 45, 45, 75. Meaning that these are going to be my drivers and these will be my drivens. So you're going to turn with your hand this one. Everything here is going to be turned with your hand, and this guy right here is going to be reacting to that turning. All right, so you're going to calculate the gear ratios for each one of those, and again, you're going to count the rotations until the gear marks line back up, okay? If you need help, call me over.